This is Texas News Now, sponsored by Germania Insurance.
Hi there, Mia Grady here with a look at what's making headlines in Houston. Starting with security cameras at a home in Westbury that turned out to be a good investment for one neighbor and bad news for a suspected thief. Prosecutors say an alleged porch pirate took off with the homeowner's packages last week, but didn't make it far before he was caught. Matt Doherty has the story.
I was really sick to my stomach when I found out he only got a $100 bond.
Anita Kawaja says she'd only been gone from her home for a short time last Thursday afternoon when it happened.
I wasn't here, and somebody took advantage of that.
As soon as she returned, she knew something was wrong.
The gate being open was my first sign. And so then I went and checked, and it said your packages were delivered. And I checked the cameras, and you saw the person taking them.
This is some of the video captured by Anita's security cameras. It shows a person on a blue bicycle right up to the home, open the gate to her front porch, then take her packages. She called the Precinct 5 Constable's office, then posted the video to social media. It didn't take long for the deputies to find the suspect.
I posted on Facebook, and another neighbor said he's across the street on Chena, and with the blue bicycle. And so they bolted out here to go arrest him.
Kevin Levine was found only a few streets away from Anita's house. Court records show he spent time in prison for aggravated assault causing bodily injury in the past, plus time in jail for selling drugs. When he was arrested last week, he was free on bond for allegedly stealing from more than 10 addresses. Tonight, he's free again.
But he bonded out on $100.
I asked Anita if the women's clothing and beauty products she says were taken from her front porch last week were ever returned.
Are you kidding? Ask him. Ask him. I mean, maybe he gifted it to a girlfriend for all I know. Maybe he wants to do skincare, try a new skincare regime.
From Westbury, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
Now to a man who's been charged with the murder of a woman whose remains were found a couple of years ago. Court records show Justin Scarborough is now charged with the murder of Angela Marisol Diaz, who first went missing in 2024. Court records show the 22-year-old may have been a victim of sex trafficking before she disappeared. Then nearly a year ago, Angela's remains were found near the Johnson Space Center. In addition to the murder charge, Scarborough is also charged with tampering with her body after her death. The Houston Police Department is tightening its policy when it comes to immigration-related encounters. City leaders say the change comes after concerns two officers acted outside department guidelines. Devon Rahming has more on what these policy changes will look like.
Well, Houston Mayor John Whitmire and Police Chief Noe Diaz say Houston police officers are not immigration enforcement agents, and they want this new directive to make that point very clear. Houston Mayor John Whitmire says with this new directive, the goal is to ensure officers follow the law while avoiding unnecessary conflict. Police Chief Noe Diaz says the department has been closely tracking immigration-related encounters with about 220 immigration warrant hits last year out of roughly 350,000 police reports.
Officers will not transport anyone solely for the purpose of an administrative warrant, an immigration warrant. Again, this ensures that our officers remain available to serve to serve the public and respond to emergencies.
It's significant that they can't do anything without a sergeant, their first line of supervision. It's significant that in the directive, you will not transport people unless it's a safety issue to get somebody out of a dangerous freeway setting.
Meanwhile, advocacy group Fiel Houston criticized the announcement, saying Mayor Whitmire is not doing anything special. He is just safeguarding the city from violations to our Constitution. This policy is something that should have been in place from day one. Meanwhile, city officials say the goal here is to treat people with dignity and respect. In Houston, Devon Rahming, KHOU 11 News.
Now to reaction to the arrest of a mail carrier allegedly caught with hundreds of pieces of stolen mail. The discovery was made inside his personal vehicle. It's part of a months-long theft and forgery investigation involving dozens of potential victims, including at least one who spoke to KHOU 11 News about the problem. Jason Miles has the follow-up.
Police tell me they arrested the mail carrier shortly after he left this post office near the old Imperial Sugar Mill. In fact, he still had his uniform on. This is a photo of 32-year-old Jalen Mouton during his arrest this week after wrapping up his Postal Service shift. But it's the mail he allegedly delivered to his personal vehicle from this post office that led to felony theft charges.
We found 226 pieces of mail in there.
Sugar Land police tell me the recovered mail was addressed to more than 50 different individuals and that 66 items contained checks that could have been used to commit forgeries.
They were able to see him pulling mail aside, taking it out of the post office, putting it in his vehicle, and then leaving the post office with it, which employees should not be doing.
Mouton's arrest follows a months-long joint investigation between the police and postal inspectors initiated by customers who had checks stolen, forged, and in some cases, cashed.
The detective who's been working the case since October, he told me that a suspect had been arrested and that it was a post office employee.
Retired newspaper reporter Eric Hansen covered crime for years, and when we first spoke to him in November, he said he suspected an inside job after physically dropping off 2 checks inside his Sugar Land post office, thinking it would help avoid issues.
3 days later, I checked my bank account and zero money in the checking account and $3,000 in addition debit. So I was out $7,000.
Now, months after our story aired, Hansen's relieved there's been a crack in the case, which police are still investigating.
Obviously, we're going to look at people who've been cashing the checks, and then we would like to find the people who are doing the original forgeries.
Turns out Mouton's criminal history includes a guilty plea to aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon from a decade ago. But all the Postal Service said in a brief statement to us was, quote, "We can confirm that an individual employed with the Postal Service was arrested. Due to privacy issues, the Postal Service does not publicly discuss personnel matters." Police wanted to stress important safety tips for you. Retrieve your mail regularly. Use a locked mail box and try not to send checks in the mail. Obviously, it makes it more difficult when an employee of the Postal Service is allegedly involved. In Sugar Land, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
Always take all the precautions. And with that, that's a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Mia Gradney.
I'm Quita Culpepper in Austin. Some Austin City Council members say they want more answers from Waymo after video shows one of the company's driverless cars blocking an ambulance on the night of the March 1st mass shooting on West 6th Street. In a letter, city officials asked Waymo representatives to meet with council committees to find solutions and avoid future incidents. Here's reporter Brianna Perez.
Moments after the 6th Street mass shooting on March 1st, first responders blocked by a Waymo. Days later, it's a sight that's still raising concerns.
God forbid if they were delayed by 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 30 seconds, like what would that have meant? So we want to make sure that that's not even a question, that we're always making sure that first responders have a clear access from point A to point B.
EMS officials say with how quickly medics responded overall, this didn't affect patient outcomes. But for one Austin resident, it was all too familiar.
We're going down a side street, and all of a sudden there's 2 fire trucks trying to get around a corner. My Waymo's blocking the street, and the fire trucks are honking at us.
Drew Mann says he was riding in a Waymo trying to get to downtown earlier that night. He says his delay lasted about 5 minutes.
I was worrisome. I'm like, didn't know what to do. If people's lives were in danger, the Waymo could be stopping people from, getting saved.
Councilmember Zoe Kadri says officials sent Waymo a letter outlining concerns and inviting them to collaborate during a public safety committee meeting in April.
Where we go from here, having better, practices and procedures in place, and then just having a good line of communication. I think communication is key.
In a statement, a Waymo spokesperson says they met with city representatives, EMS, and law enforcement officials Monday to discuss the incident, telling KVUE, quote, "Safety is fundamental to everything we do, and that means taking responsibility for our actions and always improving based on what we learn." Waymo leaders add they welcome the opportunity to have similar discussions with council members and their staff. In Austin, Brianna Bettis, KVUE News.
A restaurant in downtown Austin is hosting a community run on Saturday to support those affected by the mass shooting on West 6th. The Beaufort's 5K fundraiser will start at 10 a.m. at Juliet Italian Kitchen on Barton Springs Road. Organizers say 100% of donations will go directly to victims and their families to help cover funeral costs, medical bills, and lost wages. That event will happen until 1 p.m. A man is facing an aggravated assault charge after an alleged unprovoked attack at Austin's Central Library. And the officer who stepped in to make the arrest was none other than Austin's police chief. Officials with Austin Police Department say a person was using a computer at the library when a man allegedly attacked them, hitting them in the head and stomping on it multiple times. Chief Lisa Davis was at the library for a community meeting at the time. Police say by the time other officers arrived, the chief had already detained the suspect, 30-year-old Daniel Vasquez. Authorities say the victim suffered life-threatening injuries. A library spokesperson says they're grateful for the quick response from first responders. Neighbors in North Round Rock are asking for more accountability from utility and government leaders. Late Wednesday night, they heard very loud sounds near their homes. Several people who live just north of Old Settlers Park called KVUE to report it. Jessica Cha has more.
Trickling water and the sounds from her garden is usually what Pamela Oldham hears outside her home at night.
Isn't that great?
Even the planes don't bother her much, except for on Wednesday night, when she says it sounded like a fleet of them flew overhead just before 11.
It was just this big whooshing noise.
She says it lasted 15 minutes, so Oldham got on social media to figure it out.
And when we found out it's gas, that's a hell of a lot of gas.
Gas provider Atmos Energy said in a statement that at 10 p.m., crews responded to an area near County Road 112 for repairs. The utility didn't elaborate on what it was repairing. But neighbors like Oldham, who only live a mile away from the repair, says nobody told them that, which caused panic.
We saw on social media that two neighbors, they fled because they didn't know what it was. And they said, hey, we're out of here until we find out what it is.
She says others on social media reported smelling gas. Atmos Energy says crews finished these repairs, but Oldham says no one informed them of that either.
We're citizens here, we're residents, and we matter. And when we're put in danger, and nobody has a straight story to tell us or alerts us, that's a problem.
A spokesperson for Williamson County says Atmos informed them of planned maintenance near Hutto, about 11 miles away from this area. Oldham says the lack of answers is frustrating.
It would have been nice if we could have gone to the social media site and they could have explained what was happening, even if they didn't have all the details, and that didn't happen.
And that was Jessica Cha reporting. We did reach back out to Atmos to clarify the nature of the repair they made Wednesday night. A northwest Travis County community is growing along with its road problems. Unpaved and easily flooded roads have neighbors in the Lago Ranchos area feeling neglected by the county. And now they have until next Friday to let the county know how it can help. Reporter Daniel Gomez has a look at what the neighbors want to see on this road to improvement.
These country roads have taken Tara Jackson home.
I just was super excited to move back to Texas.
However, these Lago Ranchos roads have flattened her excitement.
There's some roads that you definitely have to turn around because if you don't have the right vehicle, you will get stuck.
She says the community feels neglected.
I know that from talking to the neighbors that they said that they've been waiting 20 years.
Travis County is stepping in.
Very excited that they're going to be working on the roads. So,
why is that?
Because it is terrible.
And wants to hear from Jackson and neighbors first.
I don't know where to begin. It's a mess.
The county has a substandard roads improvement plan for the neighborhood. That includes paving several streets like Paloma Lane, Pescos Drive, and Dos Amigos Drive, and improving drainage so flooding doesn't become too big of an issue.
I thought they could only get better. As 20 years goes by, they got worse.
Will Jocelyn also made it back to Texas after spending 20 years living elsewhere, but he was surprised to not see much had changed.
In the beginning, I think it was a lack of people, that maybe there's no real incentive for people to come in, or like, maybe the government or whatever, to come in and spruce up the place, make the roads a little bit better.
Neighbors have until March 20 to give the county feedback on the plans to improve this area to bring some relief to these country roads. Daniel Gomez, KVUE News.
And that's what's happening in Austin. I'm Quita Culpepper. We hope you have a great day.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
I got significantly warmer conditions today, especially as we head towards the weekend. But if you want those cooler temperatures to return, I do have them into the forecast. I'm meteorologist Sandy Mead. It's certainly going to be a warmer day across the Lone Star State today. We'll see a mix more in the way of 70s, even some 80s, turning near widespread 80s as we head into Saturday. But those cooler conditions are going to more so come as we head into Sunday, especially for portions of North and West Texas, as we're going to have a very windy cold front that is going to approach the region. That will help bring some cooler conditions as that cooler air will really be able to settle in as we head into Monday. Out the door for our Friday, we'll start with more in the way of 40s, even some 50s out there, more in the way of into portions into the mountains of higher terrain. We'll stick with some upper 30s. So it'll be a rather mild start to start off on our Friday, with those highs getting back into the middle to near upper 80s, especially for West Texas along I-35. We'll stick in the mix of 70s, even some 80s, with more warmer temperatures, especially down into portions of the valley, more in the way of middle to near upper 80s. The winds are going to be a lot more lighter this time around. We're still going to continue with a beautiful sunny sky as we go and throughout much of our Friday, but we'll start to notice a little bit of some changes as we head into Saturday. We'll start to see a little bit more in the way of some increasing clouds, even with some fog to start off into the valleys into near the hill country. This will be around 4 p.m. This is looking at your daytime highs into the low to the middle 90s, especially across into portions of West Texas, middle to upper 80s along into the Panhandle, more in the way of those low to near middle 80s along portions of the I-35 corridor, a bit more in the way of those low 80s down into near portions of the coastal bend, all the way up into portions of Houston. We're going to be able to see kind of a still increasing clouds a little bit throughout the day on Sunday, but that's when that strong cold front is going to approach. So it's going to approach during the time of that daytime heating. So especially portions north of the I-20 corridor, we'll see a more substantial hit, especially when it comes to those cooler temperatures. But with this cold front that's approaching, the Storm Prediction Center has highlighted a slight risk of maybe some strong to severe thunderstorms along into mostly portions of East Texas. Right now, I think the greater threat may be a bit more further north, but this is still several days out. So something to put on your calendar as we head into around late Sunday afternoon into the evening as this cold front is going to approach, as I anticipate mostly everyone else across the Lone Star State will stay rather dry and breezy as this cold front keeps advancing more further southward, being a rather substantial storm system that's going to bring a heavy snow up into portions of the Midwest, pushing up into near the New England region, where it will stick with mostly predominantly heavy rain. High pressure will settle in quite quickly after as we head into Monday. But I want to talk about the winds real quick. This will what it look like around Sunday 7 a.m. We'll likely have a breeze coming in from the south and west, upwards of 20 miles an hour, but that will change. Those winds will be coming in from the north, gusting up to near 51 miles an hour as we head into Amarillo. This is around 12 p.m. I'm going to stop the clock around 4 p.m. We'll see those wind gusts quite significant across much of Texas, near 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts possible as it continues to advance further southward. Those winds will calm down through the day, so expect a very breezy day heading into your Sunday, and I would go ahead and make those outdoor plans and bring them inside, as it will be quite unpleasant, especially for portions along into near I-20. That cold front will make it down into near the coastal bend. This will be around 10 p.m. and those winds will ease into the morning hours as we head in towards Monday. And with this, there will be a likely some critical fire weather concerns, especially for portions of West Texas, even up and towards the Panhandle. I wouldn't rule it out that we will see that fire weather concern extended as we head in towards Sunday. So for West Texas, we'll stick with some 80s, especially more in the way of some low 90s as we head into Saturday and Sunday. We'll work with those breezier conditions along into Central Texas. We'll start to see some increasing clouds, maybe a little bit of fog to sneak in as we head into around Saturday. Along into South Texas, that cold front will arrive as we head into the later portions of Sunday. So your temperatures are still going to be well into the 90s, even some triple digits. North Texas will stick with some 70s, even some 80s alongside portions of East Texas as well, where especially portions of Northeast Texas will be able to see that opportunity of maybe a few showers or storms, so something to put on your radar as we head into Sunday. Along into portions of the valley, we're going to stick with those middle to near upper 80s, even more in the way of possible triple digits as we head into Sunday. But all of us will be able to cool down quite nicely as we head into around a Monday, in which with that, precipitation chances are going to be null and void as we start heading it throughout the next several days. So don't expect any much in the way of significant rain chances, and expect more so into portions of East Texas. That will be the only rain chance, at least within the next 7 days. So for Friday, a lot of us will be into the 70s and 80s. Warming up heading into Saturday, a breezy cold front heading into Sunday. Temperatures will cool off into the 60s, 50s, and 70s heading into Monday, but will gradually warm back up into the 70s, 80s, and 90s by the middle of next week.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.
I'm Cynthia Aguirre, and here are the headlines from North Texas. We have new details on a decision that sparked widespread confusion on Election Day. You might remember a district judge gave Dallas County a voting extension after residents showed up to the wrong polling locations because of new precinct rules. 2,000 people cast their ballot before the Texas Supreme Court blocked it. And now we're learning those ballots will not count. The Dallas County Democratic Party is dropping their legal effort to fight it. And there doesn't appear to be any races with a margin small enough to be affected. The jury will return to deliberations in the trial against a group charged in an ambush on a North Texas ICE facility. It happened at the Prairie Land Detention Facility in Alvarado last 4th of July. 9 people are now on trial. The jury got the case at 9 a.m. Thursday, but they were interrupted after prosecutors realized they gave them the wrong flash drive with video to watch. The judge called them back and told them to disregard the video to avoid a mistrial. Prosecutors say Benjamin Song led the group using fireworks as a distraction before he allegedly shot and injured an Alvarado police officer. Attorneys for all 9 defendants say their clients were just exercising their First Amendment right to protest last summer. If convicted, the protesters face decades in prison and in some cases, life behind bars. Now to new details on the fiery crash that shut down US 80 in Forney. It happened right off of Windmill Farms just before 8 Thursday morning. Richard Solomon spent the day working to find out how it happened and whether anyone will be held responsible.
Well, this evening we do know from Forney police 1 person sadly was killed in this crash and 2 other people were injured. Now this happened around 8 this morning along this stretch of US 80 here. It was shut down for hours. But this afternoon I spoke with a man who was in the crash. He was not injured, thankfully, but he did say it happened as traffic was slowing down this morning. A few hours ago, this is what it looked like out here. All lanes were shut down for several hours. Forney police say the multi-vehicle crash happened just before 8 this morning. The man that I spoke with, who was on the road when it happened, says traffic was starting to slow down, and then all of a sudden his vehicle was hit from behind. He says he got out to check, but then he saw 1 car on fire. Police tell us sadly 1 person died and 2 others were injured. Now we have been told by officials the Texas Department of Public Safety is handling this investigation. Of course, we'll keep you updated once we learn more. For now, in Kaufman County, I'm Richard Solomon. Back to you.
Congressman Mark Veazey has asked the Texas Rangers and Major League Baseball to remove a controversial statue from Globe Life Field. Last week, the team installed the One Riot, One Ranger statue in the left field concourse. It was removed from Dallas left field 6 years ago after officials learned it was modeled after Ranger Jay Banks, a trooper who helped block black students from integrating Mansfield schools in 1956. The baseball team said it represents all Rangers, not just Banks. Veazey represents the 33rd Congressional District, which includes part of Arlington. He just sent a letter to MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred and the Texas Rangers. He cited legendary player Jackie Robinson and claimed the statue contradicts the inclusive values of baseball. Quote, to place a monument honoring someone associated with resisting civil rights at a major league ballpark dishonors that legacy. Some people pick their church service for the music. Maybe it's the choir, maybe it's the band, but at one Dallas church, the voice leading the hymns could fill an opera house, and she just won a national competition. Matt Howerton got to hear from her about the road that led her there.
Follow the music.
My heart has always been here.
And you'll find something unexpected.
I think opera is just like any other piece of music.
A voice that could fill the balconies of a grand theater.
My name is Josefina Maldonado. I am an opera singer.
And Josefina Maldonado learning that voice not just a gift, but a guide.
I have told several other musicians that she is just one of the most talented singers I have ever had the pleasure to work with.
Maldonado is 29, from Oak Cliff, a first-generation American, and recently placed first in the 49th National Association of Teachers of Singing competition in January. And let's just say, it's far from American Idol.
It was some of the best singers, I would say, in the nation.
Inside this sanctuary at Preston Hollow Presbyterian, it didn't shock anyone. Maldonado performs solos frequently here on Sundays, a member of the choir since 2019, where pews have felt like a front row seat for members.
You can see it and you can feel it. They're sitting up straight and paying total attention.
Maldonado always knew she had pipes.
Christina Aguilera was actually one of my favorite singers, but when I went to school in my undergraduate, that's actually when I learned about opera, and I've kind of been leaning towards that ever since.
Yet when she started singing a bit more here,
I rage quit my job. I just up and left and said this isn't for me.
It encouraged her to pursue opera full-time.
I am again on the path to becoming and being the person that I actually want to be.
People often find meaning in a church. Maldonado found her voice and the purpose behind it.
Incredible voice. Well, we are less than 3 days away from the Grand Prix of Arlington. Dozens of drivers will take on the course around AT&T Stadium and Globe Life Field. But before the cars zip around the track, one Grand Prix star decided to make a special stop first.
In a preschool class, numbers are fun.
11, 12, 13, 14.
14 kids in one room have a special Thursday.
1, 2, 3. Welcome, Mr. Sky!
Hi, guys. Morning, morning, morning.
They're meeting 6-time IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon.
Who loves reading books? Yeah?
He's in town for the inaugural Java House Grand Prix of Arlington.
It's exciting. You know, I get to drive at 240 miles per hour and race on the streets of Arlington.
It's amazing.
But before getting in his real race car,
this is my favorite car, number 9.
He fuels up at this energizing pit stop at Child Care Associates in Arlington.
We got to count, okay? All lined up, 10 in a row. Who's ready to count?
Dixon's visit is part of a $500 million initiative focusing on early childhood learning.
7.
It's called PNC Grow Up Great.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Inspiring future bankers
7.
or future drivers.
So excited.
Ready to race on 4 wheels.
Do you have a favorite number?
You have to be be 16 to be in a white car.
Sharing one suit.
It's like pajamas, isn't it?
2 gloves.
You want to try the glove?
And a pair of fire-resistant shoes.
You want to try the shoe?
Together, one driver with 14 kids are counting down.
This is the car I'll race this weekend.
To the 60-squared checkered flag.
So, the moral of the story is the 9 car won.
In Arlington.
And that's my number.
I'm Tiffany Liu.
Well done.
And those are your headlines from North Texas.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Mold in apartments is one of the most common complaints we hear from our viewers. Tonight, tenants at one apartment complex say they've been dealing with mold conditions for months, and they say it's making them sick. Our Juliana Jackson has their story and what you can do if you're in a similar situation.
Severe headaches, breakout in cold sweats, out of breath, been to the doctor 4 times.
Cindy Morgan says since moving into this apartment unit, she's felt sick. Her 3-year-old dog was also suffering. He was lethargic and refusing to eat. She says her doctor connected the symptoms.
I finally figured out that I was allergic to the mold.
When she pulled back the carpet, the tack strips underneath were black. She set out home mold test kits in every room.
It's my dining room. And if there's mold, it'll grow mold. That's my dining room. This is my bedroom. Oh, that's my kitchen sink underneath there. This is my bedroom.
Down the hall, Melinda Bass says there's mold growing on the walls outside of her unit. Bass is on continuous oxygen 24/7.
Not an easy option to have to pack up and move again. That's why I contacted the city and all of the officials. If it don't help me, hopefully it'll help someone else.
Moldy apartment calls are the most frequent our team gets. While our investigation continues, we won't be naming the apartment yet, but we can pass on what tenants can do when they find themselves in this situation. Under Texas Property Code, Section 92.052, landlords are legally required to effort repair conditions that affect a tenant's health or safety. Put everything in writing, send it to the place where rent is paid, use certified mail, and keep a copy of everything. State law prohibits landlords from retaliating against tenants who file good faith health and safety complaints for up to 6 months after that complaint is made. The biggest advice is to document everything: photos, texts, emails, maintenance requests, and if tenants believe their health is affected, see a doctor and keep those records. These 3 women are already doing that. They have attorneys, they have medical records, and they have each other.
If it's not going to help me, maybe it'll help somebody else that lives in this apartment complex who is afraid to stand up.
That was Juliana Jackson reporting. Meantime, new parks, new playgrounds, and millions of dollars in green space improvements are coming to Waco. City leaders say several projects now underway will expand park access across multiple neighborhoods, giving more residents a place to play, relax, and connect with nature.
Waco's park system is growing with several new projects underway across different parts of the city. Parks and Recreation Director Jonathan Cook says the effort is driven by community feedback and long-term planning to make parks more accessible to the community.
We've got a saying that it starts in parks, and that really was fueled by the community input and really the community love for our park system here in Waco.
While popular destinations like Cameron Park and Brazos Park East draw visitors from across the city, leaders say not everyone has easy access to those larger parks. So the city is working to spread new green space across multiple neighborhoods.
But what we see is parks are just a key component to quality of life, but also economic generators, also build a sense of community. So it hits a lot of different angles.
One of the projects already under construction is China Spring Park, a nearly 90-acre space designed to serve a growing residential area. The park will include a splash pad, playground, pavilion, and a trail system while keeping much of the land in a natural state. Another major investment is the nearly $25 million Alice Martinez Rodriguez Park, which city leaders say will become a destination park for families across Waco.
This is a playground that is unlike anything that we have seen in the city of Waco. The playground alone will feature 3 different sections that will have a cultural Hispanic feel to tell the stories of local leaders, but then also it's open to all abilities, a variety of different sensory areas, and really anyone can come out and play.
Closer to downtown, the city is also developing Virginia Dupuy Park, a smaller pocket park designed to serve as a plaza-style gathering space where residents can relax, meet up, and spend time outdoors. With multiple projects underway across the city, leaders say Waco's park system is continuing to grow for future generations.
More green space always is good. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Hello, I'm Brennan Gurley, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. March is Women's History Month, and all month long we are highlighting women in our community who are making a difference. CBS 19's Robert Ella Garza introduces us to the woman some call the face of Nacogdoches and why she says volunteering has been one of the most rewarding parts of her life.
When you think Nacogdoches, you might think the oldest town in Texas or the hometown of soccer legend Clint Dempsey. But there's another name people know just as well, Betty Shin.
I moved here in '75 and became active as a volunteer in the Chamber of Commerce first. So I became involved in one thing led to another. And
after retiring from the medical field in 2013, Betty didn't exactly slow down. She doubled down.
Things that I really like to get involved with. I stay pretty busy doing that. I retired in 2013 from the hospital work, but I didn't know how to say no to everything else. So,
serving on boards, organizing festivals, and volunteering with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club.
I think to know when you've finished a project or you're working on a project and you can see the positive results makes it all worth your time.
Over the decades, Betty's hands have been in countless projects, from restoring historic buildings to mentoring the next generation of leaders.
The entire city, everybody that has ever met her or hasn't met her should know her, but she has had her finger on the pulse of all the organizations that help others.
Like Betty's longtime friend, Nancy Wyndham.
That every part of her life, business and professional, for the people that know her, has been impactful in a very positive way.
No, she doesn't hold the record for the fastest goal in a World Cup, but her decades of service have scored her something else, a Lifetime Achievement Award.
She has moved the needle forward. It doesn't matter how old she is or how young she is. She puts the same heart into it.
And at 86 years old,
I guess one day maybe I'll run out of energy. I don't know.
Betty still shows no signs of slowing down.
So there's always something on the calendar upcoming. But I enjoy the work that I do and just enjoy the people.
For a town known for its history, many say Betty, the face of Nacogdoches, has become a part of it. For CBS 19, I'm Robert De La Garza.
Owning a home in Longview could soon be more within reach, and the city wants to put money directly in your pockets to make it happen. CBS 19's Renee Estrada explains how the program could work and who could benefit.
The city of Longview is proposing to put $100,000 towards a program that would help low-income first-time home buyers. Part of that money can be used to help put a down payment towards a future home.
The money would come from existing federal funds already set aside for the city. Qualifying applicants could receive grants up to $2,000. This money would go directly towards securing a new home. The program targets those who may have the income to afford a mortgage but just can't quite cover the initial down payment.
And a lot of people do need assistance with down payments and closing costs because sometimes that extends their opportunity to be homeowners if they have to continue to save up for that down payment and closing expense. That delays the opportunity for them to be homeowners.
Residents in Longview have until April 1st to give their feedback and input on the proposal before it moves to council. In Longview, Renee Estrada, CBS 19.
And that's a wrap of your East Texas headlines. I'm Brennan Gurley.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at yourmediainsurance.com.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. San Antonio firefighters made quick work of an overnight house fire on the northeast side, but it's what happened out on the street that has led to some safety questions. Sue Kalberg has the details about a self-driving car that first responders say drove into the firefighting area.
The SAPD report indicates that police spoke with the man they found sitting in the driver's seat of the Waymo vehicle, but because Waymos are supposed to be driverless, there goes one now. They went ahead and issued a ticket for driving through the barricades and driving on the left side of the road.
It was a working fire of some sort.
Firefighters arrived to smoke and flames showing around 1:30.
We saw some fire through the front window.
And they were able to bring the blaze under control within about 15 minutes. But they say at some point, the Waymo car drove straight into the area where firefighting operations were underway. Fire officials say the incursion had no impact on the outcome and there were no injuries. We asked Waymo what happened.
I'm trying to get an answer about an incident we had in San Antonio, Texas overnight.
When they reply, we will share it. With regard to the fire, officials say the residents made it out safely and the investigation into the cause continues. In northeast San Antonio, Sue Kalberg, KENS 5.
A man convicted in a drunk driving crash that injured a mother and her child has been sentenced to prison. Earl Stoudemire has the story.
61-year-old Marshall Neal Jr. was sentenced to 13 years in prison for DWI with 2 or more previous convictions alongside aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The court decided that Neal's impairment led him to use the car as a weapon during the incident. Bulverde police say they showed up to the 2-car crash on Highway 281 on April 19th of 2024. Neal was in one vehicle and on the other was a mother and her child. Police say Neal crossed a highway median and crashed head-on into the woman's car. Neal's car flipped over and he was seen crawling out of it. Neal admitted to the officers he had too much to drink, having 4 24-ounce cans of alcohol. His blood alcohol level was nearly twice the legal limit and he was unable to recall what led up to the crash. Witnesses say the woman tried to get out of the way but couldn't avoid the crash. The mother and child both had to go to the hospital for severe neck pain. Because Neal was considered showing or using a deadly weapon during the incident, he has to serve half of his 13-year sentence before he's eligible for parole. Earl Stoudemire, KENS 5.
San Antonio police need your help finding suspects who targeted a thrift shop. Investigators say the thieves and crimes could be connected to other break-ins around the city. Zach Briggs has the story.
I thought it was devastating that this could happen. This is the second time it happened in less than a month. I think I was even more upset that my neighbors down the street got broken into.
Lexspace, Texas is a warehouse for artists and designers. It was late January in the middle of the night when this unwelcome guest was caught taking off with Paul Francis's bike. Other footage provided to police shows the man stealing a bunch of tools, everything stolen, valued at more than $2,500.
It hurts when it's your business and you're working hard for it and you're trying to protect other people in the building. And then you have to worry now about people breaking in and damaging your property and stealing your property.
What's up, San Antonio? We had some unexpected visitors last night that
Police are connecting the dots, suspecting the man who hit Lexspace, Texas, also broke into thrift at the warehouse off Camden Street in the Pearl. This went down around 3:30 a.m. on February 19th. One person is seen with a blanket on his face, another with tattoos on his hand. The thrift store posting video of it on Instagram, asking the community for help.
You smashed our windows, you stole our registers, you stole our store phones, and you left behind a cigarillo, but you did not kill our spirit.
And now Francis and police urging everyone to get a good look at the suspects and call authorities if they know of their whereabouts.
I hope they catch this individual and I hope justice is served.
Zach Briggs, KENS 5.
If you steal a car or catalytic converter in Cibolo, there's a new team of officers looking for you. The new heat unit is targeting thieves and the hot spots where they strike. Our Alicia Nieves explains how they're using data and technology to catch the crooks.
Car crooks could soon feel the heat in Cibolo. Police launched a new specialized unit focused solely on vehicle crimes, targeting everything from stolen cars to catalytic converter theft rings moving through the region.
HEAT is an acronym for High Enforcement Activity Team.
The unit pairs 2 officers with a crime analyst, using data to pinpoint when and where thieves strike across the city.
And focus on the hot spots.
Catalytic converters remain a prime target for thieves, packed with valuable metals. According to Kitco, a precious metals market tracker, platinum is trading around $2,100 an ounce. Palladium more than $1,600, and rhodium topping $11,000 an ounce.
They can take these catalytic converters off vehicles within minutes.
According to Carfax, the Ford F-150, Toyota Tacoma, and Toyota Tundra are the 3 vehicles hit the most in Texas for their catalytic converters. Meanwhile, DPS data shows the most stolen vehicles last month were the Chevy Silverado, GMC Sierra, and Hyundai Elantra. Cibolo's proximity to 35 can make it an easy stop.
We're constantly in neighborhoods, on the streets, with intelligence-driven information that's going to pinpoint where they're at. We have technology such as drones that we can check neighborhoods quicker than we can drive through them.
Police say a few small steps can make a big difference. Locking vehicles, removing valuables, turning on lights outside, and keeping your VIN information handy.
They have to get lucky every time to get away with these crimes. We just have to find them once.
Alicia Nieves, KENS 5.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
Here are your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong.
Mr. Gross, did you stab that man this morning?
Trying to kill me.
You said people are trying to kill you? What do you mean?
Were you acting in self-defense?
12 News was at the Beaumont Police Department on Wednesday as Edric Gross was taken to the Jefferson County Jail. He's been arrested in connection to a stabbing that happened at I-10 and Hollywood Underpass this week. Police say that he ran from the scene. Later, officers were patrolling College Street, where they found Gross walking along a drainage ditch. Now, according to a press release, during the pursuit, Gross discarded a personal item. BPD's crime scene unit processed the item and they found prints giving them his identity. EMS treated the victim a few blocks from the scene at a hotel, and they took him by ambulance to a local hospital. Police say the victim is in stable condition.
Threatened officers saying that he would kill him, and then as they chased him again the second time, he threatened another officer that he was going to kill him as he ran away.
A $1.5 million bond has been set for Kimothy Broussard, the man arrested in the murder of Christiane Marks. Now, she was killed earlier this month at the Pine Club Apartments in Beaumont. According to a probable cause affidavit, Broussard gave a full confession with specific details about what police are calling a targeted attack. Friends and family, they're remembering Tony Lakey. His body was found alongside the roadway near I-10 and Vidor. They say that he was a fun and deeply loyal man. He leaves behind a large family in Vidor and Baytown. 12 News reporter Daniela Tapata-Palau, she spoke to a cousin who says that the way he died made the news of his death the harder to hear.
I just can't imagine life without him.
Melissa Dawson is talking about her cousin Tony.
We spent almost every waking minute together when I lived in Vidor.
She says his death came as a shock.
The way that he passed alone, I was very saddened by that, just because he would have never left anyone else alone.
Dawson says the family is heartbroken. She says he was someone they could always count on.
Definitely someone I leaned on, very protective of his family, loving son, great friend.
And despite the challenges and losses in his family, he never lost his positive outlook.
He persevered in everything. I mean, you know, he had several years of tragedy that happened. You never seen him without a smile.
Vidor Detective Sergeant Joshua Lockett says investigators are still waiting on autopsy results to determine a cause of death, but they have ruled out a crash.
We're thinking it's probably going to be natural causes. He may have had a heart attack.
While the family mourns, they say they're finding comfort in the thought that Lakey is no longer alone.
Even though it's very sad that he passed, I know that he is back with them and our grandparents and my mom and dad, and that gives me a little comfort in knowing that.
Daniela Tabata-Palau reporting. The family has created a GoFundMe to cover unexpected funeral costs. So if you'd like to donate, head to our website, 12newsnow.com. The city of Silsbee held a council meeting Thursday after allegations surfaced against former animal control officer Joshua Nolan. The investigation began when a rescuer found multiple dog remains. Nolan was later arrested, accused of improperly euthanizing dogs with a pistol and dumping them outside of animal control. Now, Thursday evening, the city of Vidor celebrated some of its most accomplished residents with the Walk of Fame. The tradition, which began in 2010, it honors community members who have made a name in music, entertainment, and beyond. This year, 3 new inductees, Carl Richardson, Waylon Payne, and the late Johnny Jono. They were recognized during the ceremony, highlighting the creativity and success that have come from Vidor. And those were the headlines from Southeast Texas.
I'm Leslie Adamy in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's happening here in South Texas. Corpus Christi city leaders are priming for an emergency meeting to address our water crisis. This comes as our region is running a tight race against time to secure more sources. Eyes across Texas, even the nation, have now locked in on Corpus Christi because of this. Josh Maxwell has more.
That is why I'm calling this emergency meeting, because it's important that we move the ball.
Corpus Christi Mayor Paulette Guajardo referring to the emergency council meeting being called to discuss Corpus Christi's water future. The mayor saying it's coming at a critical time in our city's history.
We have to come together, unified, to move forward desalination.
Guajardo says time, like our water, is running out. This week, Texas Governor Greg Abbott blasting local leadership for failure to act.
What Corpus Christi leaders have to do is make a decision.
We've heard directly from the governor. I stand with him. He has a direct investment in this project, and it is the only project that is going to help our region.
Texas State Representative Denise Villalobos tells 3 News water curtailment could arrive as soon as May 9th in a worst-case scenario. A mid-range timeline could put it at September 12th. If nothing changes, the November timeline stays. But with these deadlines inching closer, a city's leadership remains divided.
Well, usually you have leadership that does that, but unfortunately our city doesn't have that within the mayor that we've got right now. She is not leading, she's not unifying the council together. It's split. There's a reason for that.
Corpus Christi at-large councilwoman Carolyn Bond, along with fellow members Eric Gontu and Gil Hernandez, filing an action for a petition to remove Mayor Paulette Guajardo from office.
I think it's ethical. I think there's a lot of unethical stuff that's going on council right now. And I think it's more to do with that. I just want to hear everyone's side of the story.
As tensions rise, a critical water source shrinks. Josh Maxwell, 3 News.
Any South Texas case that made national headlines more than a decade ago is now back in the spotlight. A San Patricio County jury has awarded nearly $198 million to the survivor of a brutal 2012 attack on 2 women at a park in Portland. Christine Chapa survived the violence that took the life of her girlfriend, Molly Olguin, and Christine has spent years fighting for justice. This is a case many here in the Coastal Bend know and remember well, one that has inspired and empowered other survivors over the years. Ryan Hopper revisits the case and speaks with the prosecutor who helped secure a life without parole sentence for David Strickland.
In 2012, recent high school graduate Christine Chapa was enjoying a walk in the park with her girlfriend Molly Olguin when the couple was sexually assaulted and shot, killing Molly. Chapa sharing in a 2022 interview with 3 News what has kept her going over the years.
What pushes me forward is all the support I have from the Coastal Bend area, and then I know from all over the world, but I really want to bring as much awareness as I can.
The incident forever changing her, but fueling her advocacy for other victims, both on campus when she attended A&M Kingsville and off it.
I know it's hard to come forward. Like
Sure.
me, myself, I'm a sexual assault survivor and gun violence, but it's upsetting whenever I get a lot of messages or emails from the Tamuk about there's been an alleged sexual assault.
Another step towards justice, Wednesday's $198 million civil judgment, which Houston-based defense attorney Tony Busby said took the jury just 2.5 hours of deliberations. Sam Smith prosecuted the 2015 criminal trial that resulted in Strickland receiving capital murder, life without parole. But he hopes the Chapa family receives closure, not just money, from the settlement.
I'm not sure families get closure from a successful prosecution, but they certainly get some satisfaction that justice was somewhat served.
For 34 years, Smith has served on both sides of high-stakes criminal and civil trials. He says collecting civil judgments can be difficult, likely explaining the Strickland's family business's inclusion in the lawsuit.
Mr. Busby and him are probably looking for some entity that may be able to pay some of that. That's my assumption.
Ryan Hopper with that report. And that's a quick look at some of what's happening here in South Texas.
Texas News Now is sponsored by Germania Insurance.
For insurance you can trust, help is just a handshake away. Find your local agent at germaniainsurance.com.